This is Life Report, produced by Right to Life of Central California.
Welcome to Life Report, a ministry of Right to Life of Central California. I'm Gabi Vehrs, the Education Coordinator, and I'm here with Marcos Espinoza, the Outreach Director at RLCC. And we are here to talk about the 40 Days for Life campaign in Fresno. This year, our campaign will be September 24th through November 2nd. You can always learn more about it at 40daysfresno.org. So Marcos, tell us a little bit about 40 Days. What exactly is the purpose of 40 Days for Life?
40 Days for Life, it's an international community-based campaign to end abortion, and we do this through prayer and fasting, constant vigil, and community outreach.
So why a peaceful prayer vigil?
I think prayer is at the center of 40 Days for Life. It's definitely something that we want to focus on, and being out there peacefully, it kind of gives a good witness of why we're out there in a good way, in a good, peaceful way. And I mean, just imagine just the power of not just locally, but internationally connecting in prayer with other people around the world during the same time. It's enormous power that we can't even comprehend.
Yeah, so there's a great spiritual impact. What also is the impact locally for the clinic or for the individuals who volunteer?
Yeah, locally, I think we've seen, it's a beautiful thing seeing a lot of different people from various faiths work together and come together in prayer for one common cause. And locally, we've had hundreds of volunteers help us out. We have a wonderful volunteer base that comes out and helps us. And through them, they're all different faiths. They're not just all Catholic or all Christian. They're all different faiths, but we'll come together for one thing. We've saved over 20 lives here in Fresno.
Wow, that's amazing. And that was over the course of like six years, right?
Yeah, we are currently going to be starting our 7th campaign. So this will be our 7th year with 40 Days for Life.
Wow, that is so exciting to see the work that's happened over the past 6 years. So what impact has the national campaign had?
Nationally, it's been great. I mean, nationally, we've had over 600,000 believers from different faiths, from about 17,000 churches, and they've saved close to 9,000 lives. And I mean, it's been a great impact and a great witness to the world of what we can do. And I mean, on the other hand, too, we've also had about over 100 workers quit from the abortion industry, and about 50 clinics closed.
That's really exciting. And it's just coming from people who are faithful volunteers, right? Yeah. So what's necessary in order to volunteer for 40 Days for Life?
I mean, it's very simple to volunteer. I think a lot of people are a little nervous about going out there. It is a legal ministry. It's non-adversarial. We're not out there to start a fight. We're not out there to show people, oh, look how courageous we are. But, it doesn't take much. If you have a heart for the unborn, if you have a passion for the ProLife ministry, and you can just be out there. And, I mean, whatever your schedule's like, during 40 Days for Life, we're there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And whatever your schedule's out there, just be out there. You have your devotions, your prayer cards. You can just go out there and pray. And pray for not just for the people that are going in there, for the clinic workers, obviously for the babies, for the moms, for the parents, because abortion hurts everybody. It affects a lot of people. And just give your time, be out there for half an hour, 1 hour. I mean, and it's that simple. You could even get involved at home. If you cannot be out there, you can always pray from home and just say, I know 40 Days for Life is going on right now, so I'm going to give this time to pray for the unborn, maybe 1 hour at home or at your church, dedicate 1 hour of service, to just pray for the unborn.
So how can churches be involved with 40 Days?
There are various ways. I mean, we would love if churches get involved. The more churches we have, the better. Some churches choose to adopt a day where they say, out of those 40 days, I'm going to take 1 day. And out of that day, don't worry about, we're going to make sure that we have someone out there from 7 to 7, and they just adopt a day. And that will be a great project for any church to come together in prayer. And they can get involved in that way, or they can, if they don't feel comfortable coming out yet, they can pray just at their church, dedicate one of their services to pray for the unborn during 40 Days for Life. So that's a lot of ways that they can get involved. And if in your church, maybe the person in charge of the pastor doesn't want to get too involved, you yourself can get involved. And you can just say, well, I can be out there for maybe 1 hour during those 40 days, and that's a great way to start. But if you can do more, that's great.
Yeah, and even a Bible study group could decide to pray, either spend 1 hour out there or take one of their weekly meetings to
Exactly,
pray.
Yeah. So we've had that happen in the past, actually, where we have some youth groups that meet and they pray. And they're like, this time I know we meet and we pray, but we're going to go pray and meet outside the abortion clinic, outside Planned Parenthood, and we're going to go out there and pray. And they've done that, and it works great. And it works great for the group to show unity and to just show the community that there's a lot of different people that care about this issue.
Wow, that's great. So why should somebody volunteer for this important ministry?
I mean, I truly believe that being pro-life is not just a noun. It's not just a title that we should hold. Being pro-life should require some action. And I mean, this is a beautiful way. If you have not been involved in the pro-life movement, it's a very easy and be a beautiful way to get involved and to start being active in the pro-life movement just by giving 1 hour. I think everybody can at least during those 40 days give at least 1 hour, and this has a lot of personal benefits. I mean, we're not out there for personal gain. We're out there for the unborn. But I mean, you'll get an increase in your prayer life. I mean, you'll feel that persecution that maybe you haven't felt. One time somebody told me, maybe if you haven't felt persecuted yet for what you believe, maybe you're not doing everything you should be, because what did they do to our leader? They crucified our leader, so what do you expect to happen to us? So I think it's a great way to kind of start that, start fighting for what you believe in a different way and in a peaceful way. And we're not out there starting fights, like I said a little while ago, but we're out there to give good witness and to pray for the unborn and know that we have a passion for that. So there's a lot of personal gain in it as well. And I think if you are pro-life, you should be out there at least 1 hour out of the 40 days. You could be out there.
Okay. What is it like for men to stand in front of a clinic? I know many times, even people who are dedicated pro-life individuals think that, well, this is a woman's issue, and if I'm a man, I don't feel qualified to really stand out there or to put my face to the pro-life movement. So give us your thoughts on that.
That's very interesting, because a lot of men have that kind of thought. Well, you know what? I want to pray because from home, or because I can't be out there, because then women say, well, what are you doing here? You're not a woman. You don't understand. But like I said at the beginning, abortion affects everybody. And being out there as a man, I think is very important, because, you could be able to talk to the men that go out there, or just be a witness to a guy that's coming in and they see other men there and they'll be wanting to talk to you, because the people that are coming into the clinics, they're not just women. They're men bringing their girlfriends, sometimes even their wives, and having a man there to talk to the men, it helps out, and you just gave a really strong presence that we're there for them, and that not all men think the way that they think men think.
Mm-hmm. That there are men who are advocates both for women and for the unborn.
Exactly.
What about, there are a lot of different people in our community. What about, a busy mom who has kids? Like, is there room for her to come out to the clinic or to bring her children?
Yeah, especially, we have different ministries. 40 Days for Life is a wonderful place to bring a family. I mean, it's a good way to start introducing your kids to the pro-life movement and coming out there with a family. We've seen families come out, and it's a beautiful thing to see them out there and just holding signs and just making a good statement. And when women are coming in and they're seeing these families with these beautiful children, that they might think it over. It's like, well, you know what? Look at the children that I may one day have, and here I am doing something that I'm going to regret for the rest of my life. So having families out there doing 40 Days for Life is definitely a plus, and we invite everybody to come out. We invite especially moms, dads, bring the whole family out.
Something that I think is really great about our local campaign here in Fresno is the fact that we have the St. Gianna Center right across the street. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. The St. Gianna Center, we're very blessed to have that. It's just a place right across the street from Planned Parenthood, where if you don't feel like you could be out there yet praying, out in the street, you could pray inside the Gianna Center. There's a place for prayer there. We also have restrooms there. We have lounge chairs. We have umbrellas. I mean, we have sunscreen. Anything that will make you a little bit more comfortable to be out there, it will help out. So, if you're a little nervous about going out there, what if I need to use the restroom? What if my kids are acting up? What if anything? We have the Gianna Center where you're more than welcome to go in there and pray, or go in there and use the restroom, or go in there and use all the stuff that we have in there as well. Which,
when we have those really hot days in September, sometimes here in Fresno, that can be a benefit. If you have health issues or you're concerned about becoming dehydrated, that's a great place to stop, get some water.
And 40 Days for Life always starts out pretty warm.
Yes.
And then towards the middle, towards the end, it gets a little cooler. So, definitely
we hit both types of weather.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Marcos, for being on.
Thank you for inviting me.
The dates, once again, for the Fresno campaign are September 24th through November 2nd. Please come out and join us. You can go to 40daysfresno.org or righttolifeca.org/40days. You can also contact Marcos Espinoza directly at marcos@righttolifeca.org, or you can call at 559-229-2229. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Gabby. 40 Days for Life is an international community-based campaign for the end of abortion through peaceful prayer, fasting, and community outreach. Our fall campaign will be from September 24th to November 2nd. Join us as we pray in front of Planned Parenthood to end abortion in Fresno. Call us at 559-229-2229 or visit righttolifeca.org to get involved.
Welcome to Life Report, a ministry of Right to Life of Central California. I'm Gabi Vehrs, and I'm here with John Gerardi, a frequent guest on Life Report. John, you are an attorney practicing in Massachusetts, and we are talking today about the Supreme Court decision that was released regarding the buffer zones around abortion clinics and how that affects sidewalk counselors. So, John, can you just tell us what the legal issues being decided were?
This was a Massachusetts law that basically said that people can't sort of stand and hang out around the entrances of abortion clinics within 35 feet, I believe it was. And unless they're just happen to be walking by, or they happen to be going into the abortion clinic, or if they are employees of the abortion clinic or who are doing their jobs as part of the abortion clinic, whether it be as sort of counselors or escorts or whatever. So clearly the law was kind of designed to, whether it was designed or it certainly had the effect of limiting the work of sidewalk abortion counselors. And these are people, as probably most of our guests know, who go to abortion clinics, stand outside them, and try to talk to women who are about to go in a kind and charitable way to try to convince them not to pursue an abortion. This law was challenged on the basis that it was violating the First Amendment because it was preventing pro-life, either protesters, but more importantly, sidewalk counselors, from engaging in a very important form of free speech on public sidewalks, which traditionally in America have been very important areas for exercising our rights to freedom of speech. So that was kind of the issue that the court was grappling with, and it was sort of on two fronts. Was this statute sort of content neutral? That is to say, were they trying to regulate a certain kind of speech about a certain kind of message or a certain kind of viewpoint? Or was this a kind of neutral, sort of content neutral limitation on your right to talk in certain areas based on time, manner, or things like that? So those were sort of the main issues that the court was grappling with. And it came to the conclusion that they came to the conclusion that this was a content neutral restriction. So it wasn't concerned with whether abortion is good or bad. The statute was merely just saying you can't be on these sidewalks near abortion clinics, within 35 feet. But the court ruled that this was such a broad, an overbroad time, place, and manner restriction that it made so much important political speech basically illegal or impossible that it was unreasonable and therefore unconstitutional. Majority held, and this was a unanimous majority, all 9 justices agreed. The majority held that, led by Chief Justice Roberts, held that this was an unreasonable restriction on speech that was content neutral. So they thought this statute, it wasn't directed against pro-life speech. They just said it's content neutral, yes. So it's not as obviously and immediately unconstitutional as a law that says anyone who says X is
right.
Anyone who says X is violating the law. That's a content specific restriction. They said no, this is content neutral. It's just about where you can be, and it relates to safety issues, security issues, whatever. And all of the justices agreed that it was content neutral, and all of the justices agreed that it was too big of a restriction on rights of speech that people have. The 35 feet away was just too big. There are other ways you can do this to protect the interests that the state of Massachusetts claimed it had in enacting this legislation. There are other ways to protect those interests without infringing this huge area of speech. Anyone who wants to, engage in sidewalk counseling basically couldn't do it in Massachusetts. So that was what the majority held. Now, some of the justices, led by Antonin Scalia, thought, though, that this was silly to act as though this was a content-neutral restriction. Obviously, it was only around abortion clinics,
right,
for one thing. So obviously, it has something to do with abortion-related speech. It's clearly directed against pro-life, sidewalk counselors. I mean, there's nobody else against whom this was directed. It's not like there are, pro-choice protesters who sort of are blocking traffic or something, and this was designed to clear traffic or make people feel. No, it's obviously directed against pro-life. It's directed against sidewalk counselors. And so Justice Scalia took the court to task because he thought, no, that you're basically acting like there are two First Amendments. There's one for pro-lifers, and there's one kind of for everyone else. And the one for pro-lifers doesn't really protect their rights. To act as though this isn't content-based restriction, a restriction on content-based speech is silly, particularly given that it doesn't put any restrictions on people who work at the clinic, some of whose job is to shepherd these women along so that they don't have to talk to sidewalk counselors, like these women people who work as escorts at Planned Parenthood clinics. They are allowed to be in this 35-foot buffer zone while a sidewalk counselor is not. So obviously this is directed at a certain kind of speech. It's directed at pro-life speech. It's directed at the kind of speech sidewalk counselors engage in. And so Scalia thought it was silly to act as though this is content neutral.
So why was this decision helpful, and are there any potential downsides of this decision?
Yeah, it's helpful in that, at least for now, in the state of Massachusetts, these 35-foot buffer zones around abortion clinics are going to be eliminated, and so people can engage in sidewalk counseling again, and that's a very good thing, because sidewalk counselors are really effective and can help save a lot of babies, and this is a very good thing for the pro-life movement to have charitable, reasonable, good people who work as sidewalk counselors to help these women who are often very scared, very confused. A lot of times they don't really want to be doing that. As we well know, abortion is not always the free, friendly, safe, legal choice that the pro-choice world wants to make it out to be. So that's good. The bad part about it, though, is that this is one in several cases where the Supreme Court has upheld sort of restrictions on the activities, basically, of sidewalk counselors, of pro-life sidewalk counselors. And that's what I was talking about when I was saying it seems like there's a different First Amendment. Mm-hmm. This continues allowing these restrictions on what's really pro-life speech to go unabated because the court ruled that this was content neutral. So what's going to happen in Massachusetts is they're going to come up with some other statute, some other way that will limit, that's going to limit the activity of counselors who want to engage with women who are going into abortion clinics. In a some way, I thought, a somewhat bizarre way, Chief Justice Roberts, who wrote the main majority opinion, was even like making suggestions of different state statutes that have been held to be constitutional, where that prevent people from, quote, harassing or, quote, intimidating women as they're going into abortion clinics. These are
outside. Isn't that outside the bounds of the court to do normally?
I mean, yeah. Well, it's called That's an example of what's called dicta, or an individual instance of it, I guess, would be called dictum. It's basically, it's not a controlling, deciding opinion of the court. Like, the statement itself doesn't become binding law, but it's sort of thrown in there, sort of the court sort of expressing its opinion on something. So it's not always inappropriate to do, but it seems silly because this is not, it isn't really the court's responsibility to make suggestions to the state of Massachusetts on how to draft good law, and really providing what's called advisory opinions, where you say, if you do X, Y, or Z, that'll be constitutional. It's a little inappropriate, and so Justice Scalia called Chief Justice Roberts out on it. He really called Chief Justice Roberts out on a lot of things in his opinion, which was sort of classic, snarky, sarcastic, but still really intelligent Scalia.
So what is the impact for sidewalk counseling in other states, and for the individual, like, group of sidewalk counselors in different cities?
Well, unfortunately, the impact isn't going to be that great. States still kind of have the right to put restrictions, allegedly time, place, manner restrictions, supposedly content-neutral restrictions on the activity of sidewalk counselors, under the guise of, oh, this is just a neutral thing that we're doing, this is just a neutral thing, when really it is a restriction on pro-life speech. So it doesn't really change the law as it stands currently in First Amendment. The First Amendment law as it stands is not great. Previous Supreme Court decisions were actually upheld by this decision. So states can still make sort of bad law that says, oh, you can't harass women who are going into abortion clinics. You can't threaten them when they're going into abortion clinics, and use kind of specious, broad language like that. If Justice Scalia had gotten his way, I think it would have been a much bigger victory for pro-lifers. This is, I think, sort of a limited. I think a lot of pro-lifers were happy about it, and it did overturn a bad law in Massachusetts. But on the whole, I don't think it's going to change a ton nationally. And it does kind of confirm a bad precedent that states are allowed to put kind of bad restrictions on pro-lifers who do sidewalk counseling.
Well, thank you very much, John Gerardi.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to do it.
Thank you. And now your pro-life tip, brought to you by Right to Life of Central California. Focus the conversation on equal rights. For us to have equal rights, we must share something equally. Our human nature is the thing that infants, adults, and the elderly share equally. If the unborn have a human nature like the infant, then they must have equal rights too.
Welcome back. Well, after an extensive search of our great nation, Right to Life of Central California has finally encountered and met and hired their new director of education. I felt like I've gotten to know her quite a bit after putting her through the extensive interview process. Let me officially introduce Rebecca Peerson. Rebecca, welcome to Right to Life and welcome to Life Report.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Great. Now, as I said earlier, I've gotten to know Rebecca quite a bit. I really put the candidates through the ring in regards to finding out the right type of person and finding the right person for the show. But Rebecca, why don't you tell our audience a little more about yourself, please?
Well, I am a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a veteran, and I just feel that all of these things really make me a well-rounded person.
Fabulous. Now, one thing that drew me to Rebecca in regards to having her be a good fit for the show, being a good fit for the Director of Education position with Right to Life, was her military experience. Rebecca, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little more about what you actually did in the military.
I served for 10 years in the U.S. Navy. I was what we call a Fleet Marine Force Hospital Corpsman. And my job was to be assigned to Marine units and to provide basic and emergency medical assistance in various situations. So things like deployments, we would run war games, and we would be there to stand by on the side to make sure nobody got injured. One of the best parts, though, of working with the military is that I was able to be a sexual assault advocate for many years, and I served that as my on-call duty. And I really was exposed to the trauma and things that go into a sexual assault, whether it's on a service member or a service member's dependent.
Now, on top of all that military experience, Rebecca has an awesome feel for the office. She's come on board and really started hitting the ground running with a lot of issues that she's brought to the surface, and a lot of research she's already done, just the few days she's already been with us. Rebecca, tell us a little more about your personal life. Married, kids, what's the story?
I'm married to a wonderful man. His name is Michael Peerson. And I have wonderful in-laws, and they are very active in our community. My father-in-law is the principal at St. Helens Catholic School here in Fresno. My mother-in-law is a teacher at St. Anthony's. We have 3 children. I have a stepdaughter, Sophia. She's 7. And we have 2 boys, Braden, who is 3, and Ethan, who's 2. My boys are a year and 1 day apart, so that's exciting, and also a handful, as I'm sure most moms out there can relate to. And I just love everything about being a mom and being a wife and getting to see these little people grow into what I know is going to be something just absolutely amazing.
We are very much looking forward to getting to know you and have the honor to get to know you a little more throughout your years here at Right to Life. Rebecca, as per the norm with the Director of Education, you're going to be a common face here on Life Report. Can you give us a little snippet, maybe a little hint as to what we can expect as far as content here at Life Report?
I'm not looking to change Life Report in any way. I just want to make sure my presence and my knowledge and my experience are able to enhance what we are currently doing. I feel it's important that our community be educated on all aspects of the pro-life movement, not just the ones that some people would necessarily find to be typical. I want to make sure that we are focusing on our pro-humanity view and really ensuring that everyone knows that our main goal is to show reverence and respect for all forms of human life at every point in their life.
Now, obviously, Rebecca has a very outgoing personality, so we're very much looking forward to having her out in the community during 40 Days for Life, during the wide variety of outreach that Right to Life of Central California does throughout the year. So if you happen to be in the Central Valley and you come across Rebecca, please introduce yourself and get to know her a little better. We'll definitely have an opportunity to do that here on the show. And again, on behalf of Rebecca Peerson, I'm Mike Salinas. If you would like more information about Life Report or Right to Life of Central California, please visit us online at www.righttolifeca.org. Thank you very much.